Hey people, what's going on? Happy kickball. It's been way too long since I've had a chance to talk kickball with you. Uh, Alongside, we have Victor Mancini. How are you, buddy?
Awesome, awesome,
Just awesome. That's it. I mean,
just awesome.
we're playing kickball for the first time, and it feels like forever, but it's only been 2 weeks. So I'm doing better than awesome. Let's get right into it today. It's been a little while since we talked about, or since we saw kickball. So let's review the results from our last game. We have the first game was Tommy's 4-1 over D's Bunts. Ball aside, losing 18-1 from the previous scoreless DTF. We had PFK 12-1 over SK. Tommy's 10-1. 11 to, is that right? Did Guacamole beat Pitch Please 11-4?
I believe that is correct. Yes.
All right. And the absolute game of the week, we said it would be. It was Balls Deep versus 7-4 in a seventh inning rally. Well, a 6 inning rally and then a 7 inning pour on by your team, Victor. Want to talk about that game a little bit?
I'd love to talk about that game.
I figured you would.
So, I mean, and you ref the game, so you were able to really get like a great view of the game.
Yeah.
And we did in traditional balls deep style. We started off with a run in the first inning, which is generally what we do. And then for some reason, thanks to Lightning Dan Sav, and then we hit the wall. I mean, we just couldn't get out of our own way. But by the same token, we weren't playing solid defense either, but we were keeping ourselves in the game. And that went till, I believe it was the 6th inning, and the score in the 6th inning was 4-1. We had the bottom of our order coming up. We were able to put 3 runs on the board to tie it, and then come out in the top of the 7th and put up another 3 runs to take the 7-4 lead, and then we let them get, I think, 2 men on with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th, but we were able to close the game out and get the win. It just, one's a great team. Rob really manages that team well. I mean, they're sound defensively. They know exactly how to play the game. They know what to do. So whenever we play teams like that, like, when we played you guys, it becomes a chess match. And it really comes down to who's going to make the first mistake or which team is going to take advantage of a situation. And Balls Deep hung in long enough. We got our window of opportunity, and we took advantage of it. I was really proud of the guys and gals.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch. There were actually a few more errors than I was expecting in that game, both mental and like actual dropping the ball errors or waiting too long to get the ball in. I believe it was it your team or was it one that walked in a run with bases loaded?
One walked in a run. They walked. I believe they walked Sarah. Did they walk Sarah?
I don't.
They
Yeah, it
walked
was
Sarah to walk a run in, I believe.
Yeah, which you rarely ever see. I mean, once you get to that third ball, you usually see it right down the middle. But sometimes I've seen Steve do it on our team. I think he throws a hard ball more. Just better than he throws that softball right down the middle. So the pressure's on it. It's tough, I guess. I can't pitch, so I don't know.
Listen, I'm the last person to belittle kickball, but it's kickball. There should never be a walked batter, let alone a walked run. It's absurd. If you have to the old grandma style, roll it down the lane. I mean, that should not happen. The ball can very easily be put in play. And ironically enough, all of our runs took place when Dave took the mound, which was surprising because Dave's a good pitcher. But you remember when Dave?
I don't know if all the runs. I don't even know if that walked-in one was Dave. I don't remember though, because the 7th inning, I think Dave wasn't pitching.
No, it was just the 6th.
Yeah. So I think it was 3 or 4 runs.
Yeah.
But he's a great pitcher. They got loads of them. I know they were missing Phil, so they didn't have their pitching depth that they usually do. But Big's a great pitcher. Dave's a good pitcher, and they have others that can step in. But Victor, I promised the people this show would not be as long as the others, so we have to move on from that one game. Any other big surprises to you from that week?
I think that I would say one of the biggest surprises was the game against you and Sick Kickers. I think we both can agree that we really anticipate that the Sick Kickers team to be a better team than they are. I look at them, when I look at the schedule, I was like, this is a tough game. And then I saw them lay an egg against you guys. I mean, they couldn't get out of their own way. I mean, I'm not trying to insult their play, but I mean, let's call a spade a spade. This team didn't step up.
No, and they've got some really good players, like some of the top players. They got some real good athletes. Their girls are great, and they got some stud guys. But it just didn't come together. And I had them ranked pretty low to start off the year. I thought Dee's Bunts would actually beat them, or at least keep it close, and they crushed Dee's Bunts, which made me think, all right, Sick Kickers is finally, they're legit. They could be one of the top teams, and it just wasn't the case on Friday. I know they were missing people. I think Eric got married. Congratulations. But I don't think that one player makes a difference. I mean, it was 11-1, 12-1. It wasn't close.
I was watching the game because we were on the field after you guys, after that game. And I'm watching balls drop in the outfield and the infield. I'm talking like, rookie year mistakes here. These are things that I've never seen on that team. I don't know if maybe it's because Al's not there, and Al had a tighter handle on the play, or maybe they're just having a bad week. But it was a real bad week, and it was against the wrong team to have a bad week against, because you're one of the top tier teams, and those are the kind of games that they're going to be able to gauge themselves.
Yeah, and they were undefeated going against us, so we'll see how they do it. This week they have a really good matchup. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I think that wraps up last week's games. Props to Guacamole for Guacamole for getting their first win. Congrats to DTF, who loved getting on me for scoring 18 runs, but you still went 3 weeks without a run, so I had the right to. But let's move on.
DTF was my lead pipe lock of the week.
Oh yes, and they showed up. I don't know. Maybe Vic paid off the other team not to play well.
After last week, you might have to call me Nostradamus, because I also predicted a 3-run win by BD over one.
Oh man, you may be Nostradamus, but I'm Nate Stradamus. So let's move on. Let's see what the talk on the table is here, Vic. My question for you is: has the gap become even wider as we get further and further into like RI Thunder seasons? What I'm saying is, the beginning there was this clear gap, season 1, season 2, on the really good competitive teams and the teams that maybe are there for more fun or just aren't as good as those top teams. And I thought each season it would get closer because teams would know what to do, teams would build up. But I think it's kind of gotten wider. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's not even there has not been any penetration into the top 4-tier teams in the league in 4 seasons now, if you think about it.
Yeah.
You have
Sorry, you go. Keep going.
Between PFK, I know Yoko is now a version of Tommy's Lounges, but say Yoko, one, Balls Deep. I mean, who has penetrated that?
Yeah.
I mean, we've only had 2 champions in the history of the league.
And you've only had probably 3 different people in, like 3 different core teams in championships. Like you can almost call it like the Victor squad, who was in my squad and PFK squad, and Sean, whoever you want to add. I mean, we've pretty much been the same. You've had whatever team Rob was on, and you've had the team Pete's on, and those have been the core teams, and no one has been close to taking those people down. Sometimes you've seen forces combine, like you saw Al and Rob together, you saw yourself and Rob together, but some combination of those 4 have always been in the championship.
Yeah, and it's not like these other teams don't have veterans on them. You look at that Sick Kickers team, full of veterans. Look at DTF, full of veterans. These teams have people on them that know how to play. Why are they not getting it done? What's wrong? What are they not doing? Do you think it's talent? Do you think it's management? What do you think it is, Nate?
I think it's a combination of both. I think if you put you got to put players in the right spots, and I think the main people know how to do that. Some teams a little better than others. I know Tommy's lately has been putting everyone everywhere, but you see on our team and Rob team, your best players are in the best positions, and it really helps. But you also see new players on these teams each season that are just making these teams better and better. Like you see your team improving, I see my team improving. One is always at getting new players. Tommy's has some more studs this year. You just see that, and you don't see that from some of the other teams.
No, you're right. That's a good point. You don't see that, and you don't see. I also, you know what else I don't see, Nate? I don't see these other teams having the desire to win.
Yeah.
I think some of these teams want to show up and throw back a few beers and listen to music and run around the field.
Which is perfectly
That's
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
That's fine, but when we're going to talk about if there's a higher division between the top and the bottom, it has to unfortunately come up.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If they want to play that way, that's all right. I mean, I respect the game of them wanting to have a good time and have a few drinks and kick a ball around as much as I expect they would respect, my desire or your team's desire to want to win. Listen, I've always said this from the beginning. If you're keeping score, I want to win. If you're not keeping score, I'll join the party too.
Yeah.
I've insulted half the league right now, so I'm sure I'm going to hear this on Friday.
Whatever. I'm right there with you. Lombardi said it best. If winning didn't matter, they wouldn't keep score. It's what matters to me. I mean, I love everyone in the league for the most part. I love hanging out with you after, but when I'm playing for those 60 minutes, I'm playing to win. But hey, we'll see how it goes. I think eventually someone's going to step it up. There's going to be some new team. Maybe it's Guacamole, who someone on their team, I believe it was Jesse, was talking pretty high about they're the team of the future. It's maybe not.
I know. We got an inside tip from Jesse saying that if not this season, definitely next season. That there's going to be a takeover.
It's going to be a take. We'll see.
So I mean,
I wouldn't put money on it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you where I put my money this week later on, but not on that.
All right, let's move on. Other things on the table. We are at the midway point, which is ridiculous. I don't want it to end. There's always a long off season, so I'm not happy about that. But it means we have a little party this week. It means we have some free food. I don't know free beverages. I know there's some new beverages, but that always makes me happy. So make sure you're coming out this week. Let's move on to this week's games. I have lines, Vic. Tell me who you think's going to win, and I'll say mine, and then we'll make fun of each other next week when we see who does better. Ball Aside versus D's Bunts. We have D's Bunts as 6.5 favorites. What do you think?
D's Bunts.
D's Bunts, I agree. Ball Aside has not shown up to play this year, figuratively. SK versus 1. I have 1 as 10.5 favorites.
1.
You taking over the 10.5.
After last week, how can I talk about SK?
Yeah, I will. If you would have gave me this line last week, I'm taking SK, but not after what I saw. And Ness is 1 coming off a loss. I see them pouring it on. I could see them winning by 15. The game of the week. Unfortunately, I have to ref it this time, so I can't watch it. I wish I was reffing it. We have Balls Deep as 1.5 favorites on Tommy's.
I'll tell you, it seems like week after week we're in the game of the week. This is the third week in a row for Balls Deep being in the game of the week.
Yeah, which probably means you're not going to have as many close games to end the season. Let's just say Victor's going to take his own team.
Yes, I'm going to say Balls Deep by 5.
Balls. I do not agree. I'm not sure who's going to win, but I'm going to take. I think it's going to be a 1-run game, maybe even a tie. I'll take Tommy's to cover. And maybe to win outright. I'm gonna go Tommy's win outright on that one.
This is such a political response. Isn't this team there's a little bit of PFK on that team?
No. If anything, that's gonna have the opposite effect. The PFK members are on my team now. Next one we have D's Bunts in a doubleheader against 1, and I have 1 as 11.5 favorites here.
Wow, if you really look at these lines, we got SK as a 10.5 point dog to 1. And then we have Ballside as a 11.5 point. So are we saying that there's a 1.5 or a 1-run difference between SK and Ballside?
SK and Ballside? You mean D's Buns?
D's Buns, rather?
D's Buns.
I mean, if that's the case, then they're either going to kill us this weekend when they see us at the bar, or there's going to be one hell of a match when D's Buns plays SK.
Yeah. D's Bunts already played SK. And SK won by a lot, but I think D's Bunts is just going to get better, and I'm actually picking D's Bunts to cover the 11.5. There's some motivation for you. 1, I think they're going to be tired after put up pounding on SK. What do you take?
I agree with you. I'll take the points, the runs this time.
Stop agreeing with me. It's not good for the audience. Next one, I have Pitch Please and DTF. DTF an 8.5 favorite.
Definitely, for the second week in the row, DTF is my lead pipe lock of the week. I've even consulted the Patriot Gnome, and he too agrees. DTF is the pick of the week.
That's ridiculous. And last game, my game against Guacamole, the team of the future versus the team of the whole league. PFK, 10.5 favorites against Guacamole.
Oh, man. Come on. That should be like a 15.5 point line.
Come on, PFK, we're real nice if it gets out of hand. I'm taking the over, of course. They would because of Jesse, we're not going to take our foot off the pedal. You heard it here.
You're not taking the over. You're just taking PFK.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm taking PFK to win over 10.5. All right, last thing we have for you. We're approaching my deadline of how long I want the show to go. Total runs, 1 scores on the night. Remember, they're playing a doubleheader against SK, and they're playing another game against D's Bunts.
Are you going to give me a total or no? You want?
No, I want you to come up with it. I'll go first if you want. Just I'm saying they score 30.
Okay, so you're saying 30. I'm going to say 31.5.
No, they're not going to score 31.5 runs. This is the exact number you think they're going to score.
The exact. Well, I say they poured on in the first game.
And somehow they score half a run?
Well, I'm going with the over.
There is no over.
Exact number, 34.
34. Okay.
One scores 34 runs.
Okay, and let's just say we know that Balls Deep and Tommy's is going to be the closest game of the week. What do you think will be the second closest? I think it's going to be... I think it's actually going to be D's Bunts and D's Bunts and 1. And I don't think it's going to be close. I think that's like a 10-run game.
I think it's going to be D's Bunts in their first game.
They're playing ball aside.
Ball aside. I think that would be the closest. That'll be the closest one.
That was the second smallest line. So you agree with the lines, which I/Vegas came up with. And the last one, D's Bunts plays a doubleheader. They play ball aside and they play 1. How many total runs do they have this week?
13.
13. Do they score in the second game?
Yes.
I think I'm gonna go a little less. I'm gonna go 11. I don't think they score in the second game. But Vic, you got anything else for the people?
I got something for you, Nate.
Oh God.
NBA Finals kicks off next week. Who do you got?
I don't know. For some weird reason, I guess I'm kind of like a sports hipster. What other people don't like, I like. So I wouldn't call myself a LeBron fan, but I'm rooting for him to win. Dude's been to 5 straight championships. I want to see it. I want to see him win. Even though this Warriors team is like the most fun team to watch in the last few years. What about you?
My pick is Golden State in 6.
All right. I want to say I think Warriors are going to win, but I'm sticking to I'll say Cavs in 7. I'm excited to watch it. All right, that does it for us. Have an awesome Thursday night. We will see you tomorrow. Hey, I just noticed that I'm reffing with Guacamole and then have to play against them. So hopefully they don't hurt me. All right, take care, people. See you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.